Welcome, warriors of the Imperium, to our in-depth exploration of The Devil You Know, a gripping Warhammer 40,000 tale by Sandy Mitchell. Today, we begin our journey into a story where the stakes are as high as the towering half-spires of an Imperial hive city and the alliances forged are as dangerous as the Xenos that threaten the Imperium. In this first part, we'll dive into the chaotic world of Ambulie Vale, where the lush, verdant landscape hides a deadly threat, and our protagonist, Commissar Ciaphas Cain, finds himself in a situation only he could navigate or survive. This opening segment of The Devil You Know sets the stage for an epic confrontation on a death world that's as hostile as the enemies that descend upon it. We are introduced to the conflict with the Tyranids, a relentless Xeno species whose hunger for biomass is matched only by their terrifying efficiency. The narrative begins with Commissar Cain's arrival on Ambulie Vale, where the war between the Imperium and the Tyranids is about to reach a critical point. In true Warhammer 40K fashion, this chapter plunges us into the grimdark atmosphere of the 41st millennium, where hope is but a fleeting concept, and survival is a testament to sheer willpower and tactical ingenuity. Cain's wry commentary provides a glimpse into the harrowing reality of an Imperial Commissar, balancing duty with the ever-present danger of annihilation. Part 1. This opening segment of The Devil You Know sets the stage for an epic confrontation on a death world that's as hostile as the enemies that descend upon it. We are introduced to the conflict with the Tyranids, a relentless Xeno species whose hunger for biomass is matched only by their terrifying efficiency. The narrative begins with Commissar Cain's arrival on Ambulie Vale, where the war between the Imperium and the Tyranids is about to reach a critical point. In true Warhammer 40K fashion, this chapter plunges us into the grimdark atmosphere of the 41st millennium, where hope is but a fleeting concept, and survival is a testament to sheer willpower and tactical ingenuity. Cain's wry commentary provides a glimpse into the harrowing reality of an Imperial Commissar, balancing duty with the ever-present danger of annihilation. As our story begins, Commissar Cain is approaching the Diadem sector aboard a shuttle, gazing down upon the emerald world of Ambulie Vale. The world, though tranquil at first glance, is a death world, a planet where the environment itself is an unyielding enemy. The description of the landscape as trees the height of half-spires immediately situates us in the perilous world of Warhammer 40K, where even nature is a battlefield. Cain's observations of the vegetation, massive trees clawing their way through the canopy, serve not just as a vivid backdrop, but also as a metaphor for the ceaseless struggle for survival that defines life in the 41st millennium. The imagery of a green choppy ocean evokes the idea that the surface of the world is in constant turmoil, a reflection of the violence that is about to erupt. The narrative tension rises as we learn about the Tyranids' arrival, a catastrophic event that has turned this already deadly environment into a veritable hellscape. The impending battle isn't just for control of the planet, but for the survival of the entire system, with the Tyranids threatening to convert the rich biomass of Ambulie Vale into a weapon of mass destruction. Cain's dark humor, particularly in the line "Unfortunately, what it got instead was me," injects a moment of levity, underscoring his self-awareness and the heavy burden of expectation placed upon him as a hero of the Imperium. This sets up the tone for his character, reluctant, cynical, but undeniably competent. As their shuttle comes under attack by a swarm of gargoyles, a Tyranid species known for their aerial prowess, the reader is thrust into the chaos of war. The scene is tense, fast-paced, and vividly described, with Cain's pragmatic approach to the situation contrasting sharply with the imminent danger. This sequence not only highlights the omnipresent threat of the Tyranids, but also establishes the dire circumstances under which the Imperial forces operate. Upon landing, Cain and his aide, Jurgen, are greeted by a contingent of Catachan jungle fighters, infamous for their brutal upbringing on a planet where everything is trying to kill you. The Catachans are a fitting counterpart to Cain's sardonic personality. They are men of action, forged by the lethal environment of their homeworld, and their presence adds a layer of gritty realism to the narrative. The handshake between Cain and the Catachan colonel is a subtle yet powerful moment. Cain's mechanical hand, an augmetic, allows him to match the colonel's formidable grip, symbolizing the constant interplay between human tenacity and the augmentation needed to survive in this universe. This interaction is more than just a greeting, it's a test of strength, both literal and metaphorical, that defines relationships in the Warhammer 40K universe. The dialogue that follows reveals the escalating threat of the Tyranid assaults, with Cain's experience hinting at the true horror of the Xenos threat. The Colonel's confidence in his men's abilities is juxtaposed with Cain's more cautious outlook, born of his numerous encounters with the horrors of the galaxy. This exchange highlights a recurring theme in Warhammer 40K, the thin line between bravery and hubris in the face of insurmountable odds. The themes of survival, resilience, and the ever-present threat of annihilation are woven throughout this chapter. The Tyranids, as a representation of the relentless, consuming darkness that threatens the Imperium, embody the existential threat that all Imperial forces must confront. Their ability to adapt and learn from every encounter makes them a terrifying enemy, one that challenges not just the physical strength of the Imperium soldiers, but also their strategic acumen and resolve. Cain's cynical outlook and the grim reality of the war against the Tyranids resonate deeply within the Warhammer 40K universe, where the survival of humanity is always on a knife's edge. The contrast between the lush, seemingly peaceful world and the deadly conflict beneath its surface mirrors the duality of the Imperium itself, an empire that, despite its grandeur, is rotting from within, beset on all sides by enemies and internal corruption. Part 2. The second part of The Devil You Know delves deeper into the complexities of survival on Ambulie Vale and the ever-present threat of the Tyranids. We begin with an intimate look at Commissar Cain's interactions with his aide, Jurgen, as they prepare for what Cain hopes will be a relatively uneventful inspection of a remote listening post. Cain's disdain for the mess hall is not just about his discomfort with the hero worship he often receives, but also reflects his pragmatic approach to leadership. He prefers to stay at a distance, both physically and emotionally, from the men he might have to send to their deaths. As they discuss the plan to visit Echo 37, we see Cain's cunning at work. Although the official reason for the inspection is to ensure the listening post can provide critical early warnings, Cain's real motivation is clear. He wants to be as far from the main Tyranid assault as possible. This is classic Ciaphas Cain, always thinking several steps ahead, balancing his duty to the Imperium with his instinct for self-preservation. His decision to visit a post away from the predicted line of attack is both a strategic move and an attempt to avoid the worst of the fighting, a hallmark of his character throughout the series. The dialogue between Cain and Jurgen also provides insight into the nature of the Tyranid threat. The mention of lictors, Tyranid bioforms known for their stealth and lethal efficiency, sets the stage for the dangers that lie ahead. The conversation is laced with tension, as both men understand the lethal capabilities of these creatures. Lictors are infamous for their ability to strike from the shadows, and their mention foreshadows the creeping dread that will soon envelop Cain and his team. Their journey to the listening post is described in vivid detail, highlighting the hostile environment of Ambulie Vale. Every step is fraught with danger, as the jungle itself seems to conspire against them. The narrative captures the relentless nature of the planet, where even the smallest misstep could lead to a swift and brutal death. The Catachan recon specialist, Sergeant Zale, and his men are introduced here, reinforcing the idea that on a death world like this, only the strongest and most skilled can hope to survive. Zale's confidence in navigating this treacherous terrain is reassuring, yet it also underscores the ever-present danger. As the team moves through the jungle, they encounter various predators, each more dangerous than the last. However, it's Cain's and Jurgen's quick reflexes and vast combat experience that save them time and again. The ease with which Cain draws his sidearm and dispatches a threat is a testament to his skill as a veteran of countless battles. The jungle is alive with threats, but Cain's survival instincts, honed over decades of service, keep him one step ahead of the dangers lurking in the shadows. The camaraderie and professionalism among the Catachan soldiers is palpable, especially as they seamlessly adapt to the challenges presented by the jungle. The relationship between Cain and the soldiers is one of mutual respect, albeit with underlying tensions. Cain is fully aware that his reputation precedes him. His presence both reassures and unnerves those around him. For the Catachans, he represents the might and authority of the Imperium, but also the unpredictability of a commissar known for getting out of tight situations alive, often when others do not. The tension escalates when Cain notices movement in the jungle, an ominous sign that they are being stalked. The fear that this might be a lictor, or something equally deadly, immediately puts everyone on high alert. The dialogue here is terse, reflecting the gravity of the situation. Cain's concern is not just for his own safety, but for the men under his command. He knows that any mistake could lead to a swift and bloody end for all of them. When Sergeant Zale dispatches his men to investigate, the narrative shifts to a tense waiting game. The jungle, already oppressive, becomes a living entity, full of hidden threats. The soldiers fan out, demonstrating their training and discipline, yet the fear of what might be stalking them lingers. This moment is a perfect example of the psychological warfare that the Tyranids excel at. They don't just attack physically, but mentally, wearing down their opponents through fear and uncertainty. The discovery of the mutilated corpses only heightens the tension. The description of the bodies, torn apart with surgical precision, suggests a level of intelligence and malice beyond that of typical predators. Cain's reaction is telling. Despite his extensive experience with death and violence, there is something about this scene that unsettles him deeply. The nagging sense of familiarity that Cain feels upon seeing the corpses hints at past encounters with similar horrors, though his memory fails to fully grasp the details, perhaps as a defense mechanism against the trauma he's endured. The interaction between Cain and Zale following the discovery is laden with unspoken fears. Cain's decision to press on, despite the clear and present danger, is motivated as much by the need to maintain morale as by the practicalities of their mission. By taking charge and making a decisive call, Cain reinforces his role as a leader, even as doubts gnaw at the edges of his mind. Zale's pragmatic response, that the jungle will quickly reclaim the bodies, stripping them to the bone, serves as a stark reminder of the brutal reality of life on a death world. There is no time for sentiment or elaborate burial rites. Survival is the only priority. As the group moves closer to the listening post, the narrative builds on the mounting dread. The jungle, already described as an almost sentient entity, seems to close in around them. The oppressive atmosphere is further emphasized by the constant, subtle noises of unseen creatures, the rustling of leaves, and the occasional distant roar. Every shadow, every movement in the underbrush, could signal the approach of a Tyranid bioform. The relentless march through the jungle is as much a psychological trial as it is a physical one. Cain's inner thoughts provide a window into his complex psyche. On one hand, he is the consummate Imperial Commissar, always prepared to make the hard decisions necessary to ensure the survival of his men and the success of the mission. On the other, he is a man deeply aware of his own mortality, haunted by the memories of countless battles and the lives lost under his command. This duality is what makes Cain such a compelling character. His outward bravado is often a mask for the fear and doubt that lie beneath the surface. The description of the jungle also serves as a metaphor for the broader conflict with the Tyranids. Just as the jungle is an ecosystem in constant flux, where every creature is both predator and prey, the war against the Tyranids is a battle for survival on a galactic scale. The Tyranids, much like the jungle, are a force of nature, unstoppable, unfeeling, and utterly alien. Their ability to adapt and evolve in response to any threat makes them one of the most terrifying enemies the Imperium has ever faced. As they finally approach Echo 37, the tension reaches a peak. The listening post, isolated and vulnerable, is a stark contrast to the dense, chaotic jungle surrounding it. It represents a fragile outpost of Imperial control in a world teeming with danger. The soldiers, weary from their journey and the constant threat of attack, are on high alert. Every rustle of leaves, every distant sound, could herald the arrival of a Tyranid vanguard or something even worse. The isolation of the post, combined with the knowledge that they are far from reinforcements, amplifies the sense of impending doom. Cain's thoughts turn once again to the nature of the threat they face. The mutilated bodies they found earlier continue to haunt him, a grim reminder of the lethal efficiency of their enemies. The fact that whatever killed those men did so with such precision, without stopping to feed, suggests a level of intelligence and intent that is deeply unsettling. Cain knows that they are up against something far more dangerous than just a mindless horde. This is a calculated, methodical predator, and it is likely still out there, watching them. As they reach the listening post, the atmosphere is thick with tension. The soldiers are exhausted, but they know that this is the most dangerous part of their mission. The post itself is a small, fortified structure designed to blend into the jungle as much as possible to avoid detection. Inside, the operators are likely unaware of the horrors lurking just beyond the perimeter. Cain's task now is to ensure that the post is fully operational and capable of providing the critical early warning that could save thousands of lives. Yet, he cannot shake the feeling that they are being watched, that the real threat is just waiting for the right moment to strike. Part 3. In this part of The Devil You Know, the tension that has been simmering beneath the surface reaches a boiling point as Commissar Cain and his team approach the outpost Echo 3-7. From the outset, things seem ominously wrong. Despite being within range, the outpost fails to respond to their communications, a silence that weighs heavily on the group as they move cautiously through the dense, hostile jungle. The atmosphere is thick with dread as they close in on the bunker. The jungle, already described as a dangerous and almost sentient entity, seems to have claimed the area around the outpost, with vegetation aggressively attempting to reclaim the man-made structure. This small detail emphasizes the relentless encroachment of nature on Ambulie Vale, a death world where even the plants can be lethal. Cain's wariness of the creeping vines highlights the ever-present danger and the oppressive environment they're navigating. The open, unguarded main door of the bunker is a clear signal that something has gone terribly wrong. In the context of a death world, where every instinct is honed for survival, such negligence is unthinkable. This visual cue immediately raises the stakes, setting the stage for the horror that the team is about to uncover. The imagery here is powerful, an open door that should be a sanctuary but instead invites fear and uncertainty. Sergeant Zale's swift movement into the bunker, leaving Cain behind with a minimal escort, is a tactical decision that underscores the urgency of the situation. Zale's abrasions, sustained from the local vermin, indicate the level of hostility they face, even from the environment itself. When Zale reports that the outpost seems deserted, the true extent of the threat becomes apparent. The outpost, a supposed stronghold, has been compromised, and the absence of the garrison only deepens the mystery. The discovery of blood spatters and lost gun pockmarks is a chilling reminder of the violence that has occurred. These remnants of battle suggest a swift and brutal assault, one that left no time for the defenders to mount a significant response. The bloodstains, especially, are a grim testament to the ferocity of the attackers and the desperate final moments of the garrison. Cain's concern that whatever attacked the outpost did so with speed and efficiency reflects his deepening unease. This is not the work of a mindless swarm but of a calculated, lethal force. As night falls, the team seals the bunker, but Cain's conversation with Sergeant Zale reveals his doubts about their safety. Zale's reassurances, sealing every vent, waste pipe, and conduit, are logical precautions, but Cain knows that such measures may not be enough against an enemy as adaptable and dangerous as the Tyranids. His thoughts reflect the duality of his situation. While he must maintain morale and project confidence, he privately wrestles with the fear that their efforts may be in vain. Cain's interaction with the soldiers during this tense period shows his understanding of the psychological aspect of leadership. Keeping the men busy with tasks, no matter how futile they may seem, is crucial to preventing panic. The reference to the claws of a genestealer, capable of ripping through even Terminator armor, serves as a stark reminder of the enemy's power. The fact that the soldiers go about their tasks, despite this knowledge, speaks to their discipline and the high stakes of their situation. The next morning, as dawn approaches, Jurgen's timely offer of a flask of Tana, a strong, bitter Valhallan beverage, provides a moment of respite for Cain. This small gesture humanizes the interaction, offering a brief moment of normalcy in an otherwise grim scenario. The beverage itself, with its unpalatable taste, is a fitting metaphor for the situation Cain finds himself in, unpleasant, but necessary for survival. The calm is shattered when the Auspex detects a massive Tyranid swarm moving towards their position. The realization that the Tyranids have found them and are closing in rapidly heightens the urgency. The fact that the Outpost's defenders might have been overwhelmed without even getting a chance to report their situation underscores the speed and lethality of the Tyranid threat. This moment of realization that the bunker offers no real safety forces Cain to make a swift decision to abandon the outpost. The sequence that follows is a masterclass in tension and pacing. As the team prepares to evaluate, the narrative shifts from the psychological tension of waiting to the visceral reality of combat. The description of the Tyranid assault on the outpost is intense, with the first breach of the bunker walls marking the start of a desperate struggle for survival. The Tyranids, described in terrifying detail, embody the relentless, unyielding force that has made them one of the most feared Xenos species in the Warhammer 40K universe. The Carnifex, a massive, heavily armored bioform, leads the charge. Its sheer size and power are emphasized as it forces its way through the bunker's defenses, a physical manifestation of the Tyranid's unstoppable nature. Cain's close encounter with the Carnifex is particularly harrowing. Dodging its attack and parrying with his chainsword is a desperate act of survival. The battle here is not just physical but psychological, as the sight of such a monstrous creature would be enough to break the morale of lesser men. Jurgen's use of the melt-a-gun, a weapon capable of melting through the toughest armor, is a pivotal moment. The melt-a-gun is a symbol of the Imperium's technological might, a last line of defense against the horrors of the galaxy. Jurgen's cool-headedness in the face of such overwhelming odds highlights his reliability and the deep bond of trust between him and Cain. The destruction of the Carnifex by the melt-a-gun is a brief moment of triumph, but the relentless advance of the Tyranids quickly overshadows it. The swarm of Hormagaunts that follow the Carnifex add to the chaos, their smaller, faster forms providing a stark contrast to the lumbering giant that preceded them. The Hormagaunts' scything claws, designed to tear through flesh, create a scene of frantic, close-quarters combat. Cain's narrow escape from one of these creatures, culminating in a killing blow delivered with his chainsword, underscores the brutality of the encounter. The imagery here is vivid. The spray of ichor and the sound of the chainsword's teeth grinding through chitin are almost palpable. As the battle rages, the realization that the bunker cannot be defended becomes clear. The breach in the wall is a fatal flaw, one that the Tyranids will undoubtedly exploit. Cain's decision to retreat is driven by his survival instinct, but it is also a calculated move. He knows that staying would mean certain death. The loss of Trooper Carter, while tragic, serves as a stark reminder of the cost of war in the 41st millennium. The fact that the rest of the team remains intact is a testament to their skill and the leadership of both Cain and Zale. The plan to escape through the area cleared by the Tyranid swarm, where the jungle has been stripped bare, is a desperate gambit, but one that offers their best chance of survival. The idea of using the destruction caused by the Tyranids against them is a clever twist, reflecting Cain's ability to adapt to even the most dire circumstances. The mention of Valkyrie strikes, fast-moving aircraft of the Imperial Guard, provides a glimmer of hope in an otherwise bleak situation. Part 4. In Part 4, Commissar Cain and his group quickly abandon the compromised outpost, heading towards the area stripped bare by the Tyranid swarm. The pace is relentless, mirroring the urgency and fear driving them forward. As they make their way through the jungle, the tension is palpable. The absence of the jungle's usual predators, while seemingly a relief, only adds to Cain's growing unease. This silence in the typically hostile environment signals that something far worse may be lurking nearby, perhaps even stalking them. The team's approach to the stripped zone is fraught with dread. The fact that nothing has attacked them yet, which Cain notes with concern, adds a layer of psychological tension. On their previous journey, they were under constant assault from the deadly wildlife of Ambulie Vale. Now, the eerie quiet suggests that the jungle's native creatures have either fled or been consumed by the Tyranids. However, Cain is acutely aware of another threat, the mysterious entity that slaughtered the outpost crew. His vigilance intensifies as they move closer to the area where they might face this unknown killer. When they finally discover the missing crew, the scene is horrific beyond even Cain's grim expectations. The crew's bodies are grotesquely contorted and suspended from the trees, indicating that their deaths were neither swift nor merciful. This gruesome display of mutilation immediately shifts the tone from suspense to outright horror. The nature of these deaths, which involve deliberate torture rather than a frenzied attack, points to a highly intelligent and sadistic foe, a far cry from the brute savagery of the Tyranids. The Catachans, seasoned soldiers who have seen their share of horrors, are visibly disturbed, further emphasizing the gravity of the situation. The revelation that their assailant is likely a Dark Eldar, specifically a succubus of the witch cults, introduces a new layer of terror. The Dark Eldar are infamous across the galaxy for their unparalleled cruelty and mastery of torture, making them one of the most feared enemies in the Warhammer 40K universe. The sudden appearance of the succubus, Militia Moralis, confirms Cain's worst fears. The Dark Eldar are not just predators, they are sadists who revel in the suffering of others, and their presence suggests that the survivors face a fate far worse than death. The description of Militia as she emerges from the shadows is chilling. Her movements are described as impossibly fluid and her expression as one of pure indulgence, delighting in the suffering she causes. The fact that she effortlessly cuts down a trooper who challenges her underscores her lethality. Cain's internal reaction, a mix of fear and cold calculation, highlights his deep understanding of the Dark Eldar's nature. He knows that if she chooses to attack, she could easily kill most of them before being taken down herself. His strategy to keep her talking, however risky, is a desperate attempt to delay what seems to be an inevitable slaughter. The interaction between Cain and Militia is a tense battle of wits. Despite the overwhelming danger, Cain's experience with psychotic killers, particularly those as arrogant as the Eldar, leads him to taunt her subtly, knowing that her pride might cause her to make a mistake. Militia's introduction of her acolytes, sinister figures who mirror her blend of elegance and brutality, further escalates the threat level. These witch cult followers, dressed in half-armor and body gloves that reveal pale, corpse-like flesh, are the embodiment of the Dark Eldar's twisted aesthetic. Their appearance sets the stage for a deadly confrontation, one where the odds are heavily stacked against Cain and his men. When the Wyches charge, their movements are described as a deadly dance, an intricate pattern of blades and venom that is as beautiful as it is lethal. The Catachans, seasoned warriors, are hard-pressed to keep up, their lost guns barely able to track the Wyches' swift and erratic movements. The scene is chaotic, a blur of blades, lost fire, and blood. Cain, despite his considerable skill as a swordsman, knows that he is outmatched, especially when Militia herself singles him out as her opponent. The moment when Militia challenges Cain directly is a crucial one. Her knowledge of his reputation adds a personal dimension to the fight. This is not just another battle for her, but a chance to test herself against a renowned Imperial hero. For Cain, this is a deeply unsettling prospect, as it suggests that the Dark Eldar have been watching him, perhaps seeking revenge for past defeats. Cain's unease is palpable as he prepares to defend himself, aware that Militia's skills likely far surpass his own. However, just as their duel is about to commence, the narrative takes a dramatic turn with the sudden arrival of a Tyranid swarm. The eruption of chitinous horrors from the jungle is both a curse and a potential salvation. The Tyranids, with their mindless, relentless hunger, do not discriminate between human and Xenos. They attack both the struggling guardsmen and the Dark Eldar alike. Militia's reaction to the Tyranid assault is telling. Instead of fleeing, she engages the monstrous creatures with the same elegance and efficiency that she displayed against the humans. Her ability to disembowel a Tyranid warrior with ease is both terrifying and awe-inspiring. The chaos of the Tyranid attack throws Cain into a desperate fight for survival. The sheer number of Tyranids, termagants, hormagaunts, and larger warrior forms overwhelms the battlefield, turning it into a nightmarish scene of blood and ichor. Cain's decision to follow Militia through the carnage, despite his deep mistrust of her, is a testament to his survival instincts. He knows that, for the moment, her interests align with his. Both are fighting to stay alive against a common enemy. However, he remains acutely aware that this alliance is temporary and that the Dark Eldar's true intentions are far from altruistic. As Cain and Militia carve their way through the Tyranid swarm, the brutal efficiency of their combined efforts highlights the deadly prowess of both. Cain's reluctance to shoot Militia in the back, despite the opportunity, reveals his pragmatic approach to survival. He understands that any attempt to kill her would likely result in his own death, whether by her hand or by the remaining Tyranids. This calculated restraint is a recurring theme in Cain's character, a willingness to do whatever it takes to survive, even if it means cooperating with an enemy as vile as the Dark Eldar. The battle is vividly described, with every slash of Cain's chainsword and every shot from Jurgen's melta-gun contributing to the desperate struggle. The sounds of combat, the roar of lost guns, the shriek of Tyranids, and the hiss of Militia's blades create a sensory overload that immerses the reader in the chaos. The brutality of the fight, with bodies being torn apart and blood soaking the ground, is a stark reminder of the grim reality of war in the Warhammer 40K universe. As the battle draws to a close and Cain emerges from the jungle into the cleared zone, the relief is fleeting. He immediately considers going back to help the others, a gesture that appears noble on the surface but is quickly revealed as a strategic ploy to maintain his reputation. Militia's cold dismissal of the idea, stating that those left behind were too weak to survive, reinforces the brutal ethos of the Dark Eldar, only the strong deserve to live. This interaction underscores the fundamental difference between Cain's pragmatic, if self-serving, approach and Militia's ruthless, survival of the fittest mentality. Cain's decision to accompany Militia to a supposed safe refuge is driven by necessity rather than trust. The Dark Eldar's offer of protection is dubious at best, but Cain recognizes that, in the short term, her skills and knowledge of the jungle might be their best hope for survival. The mutual wariness between them adds a layer of complexity to their alliance, as both are acutely aware that this partnership is temporary and fraught with potential betrayal. Part 5. We find ourselves delving into the aftermath of the intense battle between the Imperial forces, the Tyranids, and the Dark Eldar. As we piece together the events that transpired, the narrative shifts from Cain's perspective to a broader overview provided by Sergeant Zale's after-action reports. This change in perspective offers us a more comprehensive view of the chaos and the tactical movements following Cain's departure with the Dark Eldar succubus, Militia Morales. The initial dialogue among Zale and the remaining squad members reveals a brief but critical respite from the horrors they've faced. The realization that the smaller Tyranid organisms have fled after the destruction of the larger, synapse creatures provides a temporary relief. Without the guiding influence of the hive mind, the Tyranid swarms revert to their base instincts, scattering into the jungle. This shift in behavior highlights the crucial role synapse creatures play in maintaining the cohesion and direction of Tyranid forces, a key element in understanding how to combat these relentless foes. However, this moment of calm is short-lived as the squad faces a new uncertainty, the whereabouts of Cain and Militia. The absence of the Eldar, combined with the unnerving possibility that they might have chosen to pursue Cain instead of engaging the remaining guardsmen, leaves the squad in a state of anxious anticipation. The suggestion that Jurgen's unique abilities as a psychic null might have disrupted the Tyranid forces, causing them to scatter, adds another layer of intrigue. Jurgen, as a blank, is an individual with a rare and powerful talent to nullify psychic and warp-based phenomena, making him a silent, yet crucial asset in many of Cain's encounters with warp-spawned entities and psychic foes. As the squad begins tracking Cain, Zale's observations provide a detailed account of their pursuit. The jungle, which had been a constant source of danger, now seems even more threatening in its silence. The absence of familiar predators, possibly due to the combined presence of Tyranids and the Dark Eldar, makes the jungle feel like a powder keg waiting to explode. Zale's experience in reading the terrain and tracking through hostile environments becomes invaluable as they follow the trail, each step fraught with the possibility of another ambush or worse. Meanwhile, Cain's interaction with Militia reveals a complex and dangerous dynamic. Militia, a Dark Eldar succubus, is portrayed as a predator in the truest sense, dangerous, cunning, and utterly devoid of empathy. Their dialogue is laced with tension, as each tries to gauge the other's intentions while maintaining a veneer of cooperation. Cain, ever the survivor, masks his fear with humor and pragmatism, recognizing that Militia, despite her charm, would not hesitate to kill him if it served her purpose. The exchange between Cain and Militia is not just a battle of wits, but a study in psychological warfare. Militia's probing comments about Cain's survival instincts and her own motivations for the hunt create an atmosphere of mutual distrust. The mention of this world being a hunting ground for her kind, a twisted form of entertainment where they revel in the suffering of others, adds a dark, almost nihilistic tone to the story. The idea that the Dark Eldar view a death world like Ambulie Vale as a holiday destination is both horrifying and perfectly in line with their established lore. As the squad closes in on Cain's position, Zale's narration takes on a more urgent tone. The jungle itself seems to respond to the presence of the Tyranid swarm, with the modal plants becoming agitated, signaling the approach of a new threat. The tension is further heightened by the realization that there is only one set of tracks, Cain's, indicating that Militia, true to her nature, leaves no trace. This adds to the squad's anxiety, as they are unable to predict her movements or intentions. The sudden attack by a lictor, a stealthy and lethal Tyranid bioform, illustrates the ever-present danger. Lictors are known for their ability to ambush their prey with terrifying precision, and this encounter is no exception. The lictor's appearance out of nowhere, its attack swift and deadly, serves as a grim reminder that the jungle is far from safe, and the Tyranids are never truly gone. The loss of a squad member to the lictor emphasizes the constant threat of death that hangs over the Imperial forces, even as they struggle to regroup and find Cain. The relationship between Cain and Militia continues to evolve, shaped by a mix of reluctant cooperation and underlying mistrust. Militia's candid remarks about her enjoyment of the hunt and her subtle taunts are designed to keep Cain off balance, testing his resolve and his ability to stay focused under pressure. Cain, in turn, uses humor and deflection as a defense mechanism, a strategy that has served him well in countless other dangerous situations. However, this exchange also reveals a deeper insight into Cain's character, his ability to remain composed, even when facing a seemingly insurmountable threat, is a testament to his experience and survival instincts. Back with the squad, Zale takes on the role of a pragmatic leader, guiding his men through the jungle while keeping them focused on their mission. His concern for Cain, coupled with the realization that they are being hunted by both Tyranids and potentially the Dark Eldar, adds a layer of desperation to their actions. Zale's internal monologue, captured in his after-action reports, provides valuable insight into the mindset of a seasoned soldier navigating a complex and dangerous situation. His respect for Cain is evident, but so too is his practical approach to the mission at hand: find the Commissar, avoid unnecessary casualties, and survive long enough to return to the firebase. Jurgen, as always, remains a steadfast presence, his melta-gun ready to deal with any immediate threat. His loyalty to Cain is unquestionable, and his belief in Cain's survival reflects the deep bond between them. Jurgen's role as a blank is subtly reinforced through Zale's observations. His presence disrupts the warp-sensitive Dark Eldar and the psychic connections of the Tyranid hive mind, making him an unintentional but invaluable protector. This element of the narrative highlights the unique and often underappreciated role that blanks play in the Warhammer 40K universe, where the warp and psychic powers are both ubiquitous and dangerous. As the story progresses, the narrative tension builds to a climax with the squad's realization that they are not just chasing Cain but are also being herded by the remaining Tyranids. The tactical situation becomes increasingly precarious, with Zale's squad caught between pursuing an unknown path through the jungle and the imminent threat of a Tyranid swarm. The realization that lictors scout ahead of the swarm, leaving trails for other Tyranids to follow, adds a sense of impending doom. The squad's urgency is palpable as they push forward, knowing that any delay could mean certain death. The interplay between Cain and Militia continues to be a highlight of this part of the narrative. Militia's casual approach to danger, her flippant comments about death and survival, and her enjoyment of the hunt contrast sharply with Cain's more measured, cautious demeanor. This contrast underscores the fundamental differences between their species. Whereas Cain represents the Imperium's determination to survive and protect humanity, Militia embodies the Dark Eldar's twisted, predatory nature. Their uneasy alliance is a testament to Cain's adaptability and his willingness to use any means necessary to ensure his survival. As the squad moves closer to Cain's location, the stakes are raised with every step. The jungle, once a chaotic and dangerous environment, now feels like a living entity conspiring against them. The motile plants, agitated by the approaching Tyranid swarm, serve as an ominous warning of the danger to come. The tension is further heightened by Zale's awareness that they are running out of time. Their only hope is to find Cain before the Tyranids catch up. Part 6. Part 6 of The Devil You Know takes us deeper into the heart of the unfolding drama, where the stakes have never been higher for Commissar Cain. The story picks up with Cain and the Dark Eldar succubus, Militia Moralis, as they reach an ancient, titanic structure hidden within the dense jungle. This edifice, forgotten by time and reclaimed by the jungle, evokes a sense of awe and dread. Its scale and age suggest that it was built by a civilization long before humanity ever reached this world, possibly even before humanity took to the stars. The description of the ruins as being so overgrown that they blend seamlessly with the surrounding jungle speaks to their immense antiquity. These ruins are not just old, they are ancient beyond comprehension, a relic of a time and people long forgotten. This setting serves as a powerful backdrop, enhancing the story's atmosphere of mystery and foreboding. The realization that this place might contain a portal to the Eldar Webway, a network of hidden paths through the warp used by the Eldar, escalates the danger significantly. The Webway, a cornerstone of Eldar and Dark Eldar mobility, allows these Xenos to appear and disappear almost at will, making them one of the most elusive and feared foes in the galaxy. As Militia explains the significance of the ruins and the potential they hold for her plans, Cain's internal horror grows. The idea that the Dark Eldar could use this site to launch an invasion, pouring through the Webway to wreak havoc on the billions of souls in the nearby hives, is chilling. This revelation transforms the ruins from a mere ancient curiosity into a strategic threat of immense proportions. The Dark Eldar, known for their cruelty and mastery of psychological and physical torture, could turn this place into a gateway of unimaginable suffering. Militia's true intentions become clear as she reveals her interest in Cain himself. Her plan to use Cain as a source of power, draining his life essence to elevate her standing among the Dark Eldar, is both terrifying and deeply personal. For Cain, this is not just a battle for survival but a struggle against being turned into a tool for unspeakable evil. Militia's fixation on Cain, seeing him as a hero with a soul blazing with nobility, adds a disturbing layer to her character. To the Dark Eldar, who thrive on the pain and suffering of others, Cain's perceived nobility makes him a prime target for their sadistic appetites. The tension in this part of the narrative is palpable as Cain tries to maintain his composure. His years of experience dealing with dangerous individuals, both human and Xenos, come into play here. Cain knows that keeping Militia talking, feeding her ego, and delaying any action is his best chance of survival. His internal struggle to appear calm, even as he is filled with fear and revulsion, is a testament to his resilience and cunning. Cain's ability to mask his true emotions, even in the face of such a dire threat, is a skill that has kept him alive in countless other deadly encounters. The narrative reaches a critical point as Militia activates the Webway portal. The shimmering, almost ethereal nature of the portal is described in vivid detail, highlighting its otherworldly and dangerous allure. Cain's proximity to the portal, almost within arm's reach, raises the stakes even further. The prospect of being dragged through the portal to a fate far worse than death is a terrifying thought, one that Cain is all too aware of. The Webway, with its connections to the darkest corners of the Eldar and Dark Eldar realms, represents a portal to unimaginable horrors. As Militia continues to taunt Cain, revealing her grandiose plans for domination and betrayal within the Dark Eldar hierarchy, Cain recognizes a moment of opportunity. Her arrogance, a common trait among the Dark Eldar, blinds her to the possibility that Cain might take drastic action. This arrogance, however, is also what makes the Dark Eldar so dangerous. They underestimate their foes, believing in their own superiority to the point of hubris. Cain's decision to bait Militia, pushing her buttons with seemingly dismissive comments about her office politics is a calculated risk. He knows that angering her might provoke a reaction, but it also might create a distraction he can use to his advantage. The duel between Cain and Militia is a masterclass in tension and close combat. Militia's speed and dexterity, combined with her venomous blade, make her a deadly opponent. Every move she makes is calculated to bring Cain to the brink of death, but not quite finish him off. She needs him alive to complete her plans. This gives Cain a slim but crucial advantage. Militia is holding back, wary of killing him too soon and ruining her scheme. Cain, on the other hand, is fighting for his life with every ounce of his strength and skill. The description of the fight is intense, with each clash of blades bringing Cain closer to either victory or doom. Militia's blade, laced with a toxin that could kill him with even the smallest cut, adds to the tension. Cain's instinctual parries and counters, honed by years of experience, are all that stand between him and a gruesome death. The realization that Militia's initial caution has turned into anger, driven by Cain's successful counterattack, is a turning point in the fight. Her pride wounded, Militia unleashes a flurry of attacks, forcing Cain to retreat towards the portal. Cain's decision to use his lost pistol as a last-ditch effort to escape Militia's clutches is both brilliant and desperate. By threatening to end his own life, Cain forces Militia into a position where she must act to prevent her plans from unraveling. This moment of hesitation on her part is all Cain needs to turn the tide. The move is risky. Had Militia been just a fraction of a second slower, Cain might have succeeded in his suicide attempt. However, Cain's gamble pays off. Militia's desperation to keep him alive gives him the opening he needs to strike a fatal blow. The moment Cain runs Militia through with his chainsword is the climax of this intense confrontation. Her fall, both literal and metaphorical, is swift. Cain's relief is palpable as he kicks her weapon away and distances himself from both her and the portal. This victory, while hard-won, is bittersweet. Cain knows that the danger is far from over. The portal remains a looming threat, and the jungle around him is still crawling with Tyranids. But for now, Cain has survived, and that is all that matters. The aftermath of the duel leaves Cain in a precarious position. The ancient ruins, now silent except for the sounds of the jungle, are a stark reminder of the battle that just took place. The Webway portal, still shimmering ominously, serves as a reminder that the threat of the Dark Eldar is never truly gone. Cain's decision to distance himself from both the portal and Militia's corpse is a prudent one. He knows that lingering too close to either could spell disaster. The ruins, once a place of unimaginable ancient power, now feel like a tomb, with the weight of millennia pressing down on Cain. Cain's thoughts in the aftermath reflect his deep understanding of the nature of his enemies. He is painfully aware that while he may have defeated Militia, the Dark Eldar are far from defeated as a whole. They are a race that thrives on pain and suffering, and their hunger for such experiences makes them relentless in their pursuits. Cain's victory here is only a temporary reprieve. He knows that more battles lie ahead, both against the Tyranids and potentially against more Dark Eldar. The use of the Webway portal in this narrative adds a significant layer of complexity to the Warhammer 40K universe. The Webway, an ancient network used by the Eldar, represents both a strategic advantage and a dire threat. For the Dark Eldar, it is a way to strike quickly and disappear without a trace, making them some of the most elusive and dangerous foes the Imperium faces. The fact that Militia was using this ancient site as a potential staging ground for further incursions into the Imperium highlights the constant danger posed by the Dark Eldar and their insidious plans. As Cain prepares to leave the ruins, the narrative leaves the reader with a sense of both accomplishment and impending doom. Cain has survived another encounter with death, but the victory feels hollow. The ruins, the portal, and the jungle all serve as reminders that in the grim darkness of the far future, there is no respite, only the relentless march of war and survival. Cain's pragmatism and his refusal to give in to despair are what keep him alive, but they also underscore the bleak reality of his existence. Every victory comes at a cost, and there is always another battle waiting on the horizon. Part 7. The final part of The Devil You Know brings the narrative to a thrilling and satisfying conclusion. The scene opens with Commissar Cain in dire straits, facing imminent danger from a lictor, a stealthy and deadly Tyranid bioform known for its predatory prowess. The lictor charges at Cain with lethal intent, its massive claws and talon-tipped fingers poised to rend him apart. Cain's desperate maneuvering, including a strike with his chainsword that only manages to wound the creature, underscores the perilousness of his situation. The fact that the lictor bears a cauterized wound from Jurgen's melta-gun suggests that his loyal aide is nearby, offering a glimmer of hope amidst the chaos. Cain's combat with the lictor is a testament to his survival instincts and combat experience. Despite his recent exhausting duel with militia, Cain musters the strength to fend off the lictor's assaults. However, it's clear that he is at a disadvantage, both physically and in terms of firepower. The arrival of reinforcements, heralded by the crashing of vegetation, signals potential salvation, but Cain is uncertain if he can hold out until then. In a surprising twist, militia re-enters the fray, despite having been grievously wounded by Cain earlier. Her resilience is both shocking and characteristic of the Dark Eldar's tenacity. Armed with a strange, misshapen pistol, she turns her attention to the lictor, firing toxins that ravage the Tyranid system. This unexpected alliance against a common enemy showcases the complexities of survival in the Warhammer 40K universe, where even mortal enemies might momentarily align against a greater threat. The lictor, weakened but not defeated, attempts to retreat but finds its path blocked by the arrival of Jurgen and a few surviving Catachans. Their combined firepower forces the lictor into a desperate move. It turns on militia, tearing her apart before fleeing through the Webway portal. The image of the lictor vanishing into the portal, as if it had never existed, is both eerie and a testament to the unpredictable nature of the warp. Cain's pragmatic response to the situation is immediate. Recognizing the potential disaster of Tyranids entering the Webway, a network they could potentially infest and use to spread across the galaxy, he instructs Jurgen to leave his Vox bead as a locator beacon. Once clear, Cain orders an aerial bombardment of the portal's location, hoping to seal it and prevent further incursions. The decision is swift and decisive, highlighting Cain's strategic acumen and understanding of the broader implications of the Tyranid threat. The aftermath sees Cain and his allies safely aboard a Valkyrie, watching as their bombardment obliterates the area where the portal once stood. While Cain admits uncertainty about whether the portal is truly sealed, the action provides a measure of relief. The narrative then jumps ahead a few weeks to a conversation between Cain and Ambulie Vale, an inquisitor of the Ordo Xenos and Cain's close confidant. Ambulie confirms that there is no sign of an active portal in the system, suggesting that their actions successfully thwarted the immediate Dark Eldar threat. The dynamic between Cain and militia reaches its climax in this part. Militia's intervention against the lictor, despite her earlier antagonism towards Cain, reflects the complex nature of alliances in the face of existential threats. Her final act, which costs her life, inadvertently aids Cain, allowing him and his allies to regroup and counter the Tyranid menace. Militia's demise is both brutal and sudden, torn apart by the very creature she sought to eliminate. This end underscores the ruthless and unforgiving nature of the Warhammer 40K universe. Jurgen's steadfast presence once again proves invaluable. His timely arrival and melta-gun assault on the lictor provide Cain with much-needed support. Jurgen's unflinching loyalty and competence are hallmarks of his character, and his actions in this final part reaffirm his role as Cain's indispensable aide. The conversation between Cain and Ambulie offers a moment of respite and reflection. Their banter, underscored by mutual respect and a hint of intimacy, provides a window into their complex relationship. Ambulie's acknowledgement of the reduced Tyranid threat and the unlikelihood of immediate Dark Eldar action brings a sense of closure to the immediate crisis. However, the universe's inherent dangers mean that peace is always temporary. The closing exchange hints at a new adventure on the horizon. Ambulie's cryptic request for Cain's assistance in an unspecified matter teases future exploits. Cain's resigned acceptance, coupled with his recognition that whatever Ambulie has in store couldn't be worse than his recent ordeals, encapsulates his character's blend of weary pragmatism and unyielding resilience. The Devil You Know delivers a gripping narrative that encapsulates the essence of the Warhammer 40K universe: perpetual conflict, intricate politics, and the constant interplay between survival and duty. Cain's journey through the treacherous jungles, his encounters with the merciless Dark Eldar, and the relentless Tyranid threat showcase his resourcefulness, courage, and humanity. The story masterfully weaves tension and action with character-driven moments. Cain's internal monologues, his tactical decisions, and his interactions with allies and enemies alike paint a vivid portrait of a man constantly navigating the fine line between heroism and self-preservation. The inclusion of after-action reports and different perspectives adds depth, offering insights into the broader strategic implications of individual actions. Militia's character serves as a compelling antagonist, cunning, ruthless, and driven by ambitions that mirror the treacherous nature of Dark Eldar society. Her interactions with Cain, filled with psychological warfare and underlying threats, elevate the stakes and enrich the narrative. The resolution, while providing closure to the immediate threats, leaves room for future stories. The Warhammer 40K universe is vast and unforgiving, and Cain's acknowledgement that there's always another war somewhere captures the perpetual cycle of conflict that defines this grimdark setting. In conclusion, The Devil You Know is a testament to the intricate storytelling and rich character development that fans of Warhammer 40K have come to love. It combines visceral action with strategic depth, delivering a narrative that is both thrilling and thought-provoking. As we leave Cain contemplating his next adventure, readers are reminded that in the 41st millennium, there is only war, and heroes like Cain are always in demand. Thank you for joining us on this journey through The Devil You Know. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the grimdark world of Warhammer 40K, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Let us know in the comments what you think of Commissar Cain and which Warhammer 40K stories you'd like us to explore next. Until then, remember, in the grim darkness of the far future, there is